So we're very honored today to have the Ambassador Cuisia here to be our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Regina, for that very kind introduction. Mr. Greg Montemayor, YFPA Founder, Ms. Regina Finuliar, YFPA President, Mr. Rex Magadia, YFPA Vice President, our Deputy Consul General and Acting Head of Post, Simon Ascalon, and my colleagues from the San Francisco Consulate, our distinguished guests, and members of the Young Filipino Professionals Association. First of all, good evening to all of you, and glad to see you here at the Consulate. I think it's a very appropriate place to meet because this is one consulate whose officers and staff have been very involved with the younger generation, Filipino Americans. So I'm glad to see you here. Of course, we have other consulates that are doing the same thing, like New York too. And what we're doing actually is very similar to what Young Filipino Professional Association is actually undertaking. And first of all, let me congratulate you for the scholarships you've been providing to young Filipino Americans, because you give them an opportunity to pursue higher education, develop their leadership skills, and encourage them to aspire for bigger things to achieve. And when we set up the Filipino American Young Leaders Program, that was also one of our objectives, to try to reach out to the younger generation of Filams in the US. Because I noted that whenever I attended Filipino community meetings, whether it was in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, wherever I went, there were very few young Filams. It was my wife who actually opened my eyes. Said, you know why? Because they have different interests. So why would you expect them to be there? The older generation have different interests. So what she said, maybe you have to have separate meetings with the younger generation. And that's what I started to do after maybe 4 or 5 months that I was in my job. And it actually worked. And one of the first actually was here in San Francisco, when we had, I think, almost about 30 young professionals who we invited. And we just had a roundtable to exchange ideas. And out of that was born the idea to set up a Filipino American Young Leaders Program. And I'm glad to say that we are now on our 3rd batch. We had 2 batches of outstanding young Filipino Americans who went to the Philippines in 2012 and 2013 to meet with senior government officials, captains of industry, successful young entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs like Mr. Tony Meloto of Gawad Kalinga, which I'm sure you've heard about, and young leaders, young Filipino leaders, because we partnered with Ayala Foundation, and Ayala Foundation has been supporting a program of developing young Filipino leaders for many years now. So it's been a very successful program, and I think what you're trying to accomplish at YFPA is very similar, and this is why I'm very happy to be here, because you're doing a great job, and I hope our consulate can work together with you to achieve your objectives. I am convinced that our young Filipino leaders will be the leaders of our community in the years ahead. And this is why I think we've also spent a lot of time meeting with the younger generation Philams for us to work closely together. Some of my messages to them is that we need to get the younger Filipino American generation to be more politically involved, because we want to see Philams rise to positions of responsibility in the US government, in the US Congress, and in agencies where we can help shape US policy, which could be, of course, advantageous to Filipino American communities. I always say, when you look at the Cuban community, they have a much smaller number compared to the 3.4 million Filipino Americans in the US. Yet they have 3 Cuban American senators. We don't even have one, with 1 Philam congressman. But he did not run for re-election in 2012, because he would have had to run against the Speaker of the House. So he was prudent. But I'm sure he will come back. That's Congressman Steve Austria of Ohio. But I see now that there's more interest among the younger Filipino Americans. In fact, 2 of our PhilPro leaders ran for seats in the city council. Alex Leocampo ran in the LA for a seat in the LA council, and Ed Santos of New York also ran for a council seat. Considering it's their first attempt, they did quite well, and I have encouraged them to continue. And there are others who are thinking of running for political office, but we have another PhilPro leader, Greg Montemayor, who's now executive director of the one of the largest labor unions in the U.S. So at his age, he's not even 30. He's an executive director. So we're quite proud that one of our leaders is occupying a very important position in this AFL-CIO union, one of the most influential labor unions in the U.S. I met with these young leaders in Honolulu just a few weeks ago. I'm sorry, just the other weekend, May 2 and 3. And I was very impressed with what they're doing. 2 of them started Teach for the Philippines project, where they were able to convince 5 Philams to give 2 years of their lives to go to the Philippines to teach in underserved schools, high schools. And these 5 are obviously making a sacrifice, because they took a leave from their jobs to be able to teach in the Philippines. And I am very proud of these Philams. So hopefully we will have some of you apply for this PhilPro program. I think the deadline is May 25th, and I'm sure we've received the applications for this program, and I am confident that, like the first 2 batches, we will find some other outstanding Philams who are willing to give back to the Philippines, to work closely with the consulates and the embassies for their own self-development, as well as for them to be able to give back to the motherland of their parents or of the grandparents. Today we are, of course, very proud to say that the Philippines is no longer the sick man of Asia. It is, in fact, being described as the new tiger in Asia, the bright spot in Asia, the economic heavyweight in the Asian region. So all of these descriptions are coming from foreign publications, not from the Investor Relations Office of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or the BSP. These are foreign publications like New York Times, Bloomberg, the Economist, and so on. So we are quite pleased to see how the Philippines has been developed. And you probably have not yet heard, or if you heard, I don't know if you realize the significance. Just a few days ago, we got an investment credit rating upgrade from Standard & Poor's to BBB, from BBB minus. So that's one notch higher than the minimum investment grade, which shows the confidence of Standard & Poor's that the reforms that we have undertaken in the Philippine economy are here to stay. So I want to again congratulate the Young Filipino Professionals Associations for your efforts to connect, educate, and serve the younger Filipino American individuals who work and reside in the San Francisco Bay Area. I want to also commend Greg Montemayor, the founder, for having thought of this idea of setting or creating this Young Professionals Association. And of course, the new president for the direction you're taking. And we want to assure you that the consulate in San Francisco would be very willing to work with you in promoting your objectives. So to all of you who are here, we wish you all the best, and of course we hope that you will continue to be involved in our PhilAm activities, particularly those that are designed for the younger generation. So maraming salamat at mabuhay kayong lahat.